Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, 2 Kings chapter 7. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com, or you can just comment below. At the end of 2 Kings chapter 6, there was some stuff that happened that's going to relate to this chapter here. 2 Kings 6:31. Then he said, God do so and more also to me, is the head of Elijah, the son of Shaphat, shall stand on him this day. So a lesson to learn, when things go wrong, people often blame the wrong person. The pastor, the church, God. In this case, it's Elijah. But Elijah sat in the house, and the elders sat with him. And the king sent a man from before him. But the messenger came to him and said to the elders, See how the son of a murderer has sent to take away mine head? Look, when the messengers cometh, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door, not the sound of his master's feet behind him. And while he did talk to them, behold, a messenger came down to him, and he said, Behold, is this evil of the Lord? What should I wait for the Lord any longer? So we start 2 Kings 7, verse 1. Then Elijah said, Hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, Tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, in the gates of Samaria. Now, we have to understand that there's no way that Elijah could have known this by himself. God had to have spoke to him for he to understand this. And all throughout Genesis and the whole Bible, it talks about the Lord sending a message, giving you a message. The word of the Lord came to this person. The word of the Lord came to that person. All throughout the Bible, we hear that the Lord's speaking to people. So the question is how much would 3 measures of flour be? It says the amount of flour is the most surprising element of this parable, which is not entirely evident in most English translations. So 3 measures is the usual translation for the original Greek trisata, which is a little over a bushel of flour, or 1.125 bushels to be precise. So a measure of wheat would be about 40% of a bushel. And a shekel of silver was worth about 31 cents in USA today. So a shekel is not that much money, and you're getting 3 measures of wheat and barley. If you look at the end of 2 Kings 6, it says, There was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the 4th part of a cab of dove dung for 5 pieces of silver. And the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, and called a woman unto him, saying, Help, my Lord, O help. So at the end of chapter 6, we see that there's a famine in the land. So if there's a famine on the land, how can tomorrow wheat and flour be so cheap? Well, we're going to find out here pretty soon. In Revelation 6, we talk about money costing a certain amount. Revelation, we talk about how expensive it's going to be. Revelation 6:5 says, When he opened the 3rd seal, and heard the 3rd beast say, Come and see, and beheld, lo, a black horse, and it sat upon him a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of flour and the 4 beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see now, hurt not the oil and the wine. Now, as Americans, we see a penny thinking that's dirt cheap. But a penny would be a day's wage. So imagine if a measure of wheat or 3 measures of barley would cost $80 to $100. That's how much it would be a day's wage. And it kind of depends on the average of the day's wage. But I think right now the average day's wage is between $80 to $100. So if you could imagine a measure, which if you look in your hands, you put 2 hands together like in a V pattern, that would be what a measure is. They'd fill that area up. So that would cost you $100. That means that a loaf of bread would probably cost $300-400. And when he opened the 4th seal, I heard a voice of the 4th beast say, Come and see. And looked, and behold, it was a pale horse. And the name of this horse was Death, and hell followed upon him. And power was given unto fly over the 4th part of the earth, and to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Now, we're not exactly talking about some of these parts, but look at this here. He's going to kill people with hunger. Well, if a measure of barley costs, $100, people aren't going to be able to make bread anymore. Pastas, they won't be able to make crackers. They won't be able to make, sandwiches because it's going to be too expensive to buy these products. So people are going to starve because products are going to cost so much. So we go back to 2 Kings 7, verse 2. And the Lord whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God, said, Behold, the Lord will make windows in heaven. Might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine own eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. So all throughout the Bible, it talks about the windows of heaven. You get to see these things that you're not really supposed to see. 2 Kings 7, verse 2. And the Lord on whose hand the Lord leaned answered a man of God, and said, Behold, if the Lord will make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine own eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And there were 4 lepers at the entrance of the gate, and they said to one another, Why sit here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, the families in the city will die there. If we sit here, we die also. Now therefore come and let us fall into the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live. If they kill us, we shall die. So the lepers are sitting outside, and they're really having this debacle. They said, if we go into the city, there's famine there, we're going to die. And if we stay here, the Syrians are going to kill us. So they had 2 options. Stay here and die, or go and see the enemy. And 2 options of that. The enemy's either going to save us, or the enemy's going to kill us. Well, this is called a false dichotomy, or a false choice. Given 2 options as the only possibilities, when other possibilities exist. Like this guy's asking, do we save lives or the economy? And this girl's like, yes, we do both. Or that's like asking people, are elephants green or pink? Well, elephants aren't green or pink. And they do this a lot in schools, and you'll find that when you actually start paying attention. So it's called a false dichotomy. It's claiming there's only 2 options, when in fact there's multiple other options. You know, USA, either love it or leave it. That's a false dichotomy. There's other options. So the 4 lepers couldn't even see or imagine what God was about to do. 2 Kings 7:5. Then they rose up at twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. And they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria. Behold, there was no man there. So the lepers decide the best option is to go out to the Syrians. We're going to go out there. Either going to kill us or let us live. That's our best option. But when they got there, there was nobody there. They walk into this tent area, and there's food and gold and silver and all these things sitting there, and nobody's around. For the Lord has made the hosts of Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and noises of horses, and even the noise of a great host. And they said to one another, Lo, the king of Israel has hired us against the king of the Hittites and the king of the Egyptians to come upon us. So these Syrians heard these noises and thought, we're about to die in this war. We better take off. They didn't want to hide for cover. They decided to run for all they can to get away from these guys. Wherefore they arose and fled to the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and they fled for their lives. They heard these noises, and instead of seeing if there was actually enemies, they just got scared and ran. You know, Proverbs 28 says, the wicked flee with no man pursueth, but a righteous are bold as a lion. These people could have waited to see if there was an enemy and then left, or fight the enemy, but they chose to leave without seeing anything. Leviticus 26:36 says, and upon them that left alive after you will send faintness to the other hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sounds of shaken leaf shall chase them, and they shall flee and flee from a sword, and they shall fall when no one pursues. You know, Leviticus says that you're going to just hear noises, they get scared and take off. Well, that's what these guys did. 2 Kings 7, verse 8. And when the lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went to one tent, and they ate and drank, and they carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and they went and hid it, and came again and entered another tent, and they carried them also, and they went and hid it. And when they said to one another, we do not well this day our good tidings, and hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. So now therefore come. And they go to the king, tell the king's household. They said, we got so much stuff here, we can't possibly use it. Food's going to go bad before we can use it. We're going to find a place to hide it. Maybe we can get, on the king's good side, and we'll let him be part of this. So they came and they called to the porter of the city, and they told them, saying, we came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of a man, but horses tied, and asses tied, and tents as they were. They went to the porter of the city and said, "You're not going to believe what's going on out here." And they called the porters, and they told us the king's house within. And the king arose in that night and said unto his servants, "I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry, therefore they've gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field. Say when they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city." So the king said to himself, the Syrians are just hiding. And when we go out to the tents to get all their property, well, the Syrians are going to jump out and attack us. And one of his servants answered and said, "Let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain that are left in the city. Behold, there are the multitude of Israel that are left in. Behold, I say, there are even as the multitudes of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see." So they took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, "Go and see." And they went after them to the Jordan, and lo, the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messenger returned and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. So somebody told the king, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send in a couple guys. That way, if they kill us, only a couple guys die. And we'll go out there and we'll see what's going on, and we'll bring some stuff back." And they went out, and nothing happened. So they ended up going out and getting all the stuff. And as you can see here, that things were sold quite cheap, just as the Lord said. And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have these charge of the gate, and the people threw out upon him at the gate. As he died, the man of God had said, who spake with the king, came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoke to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gates of Samaria. And the Lord answered the man of God and said, Now behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine own eyes, but should not eat thereof. And he fell out to him, for the people threw out upon him in the gates, and he died. 1 Corinthians 10 says, There has no temptation taken you, but such as a common in man, but God is faithful, to whom will not suffice you to be tempted above you that are able, that within a temptation make a way to escape, that would be able to bear it. This is basically saying that God's not going to make things too hard for you, when you're tempted, that you just have to subdue to it. He's always going to give you a way to escape it. This right here says there's no limit on what God could do. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. That's the video there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. If you got friends that might be interested in watching this, please share it with them. Hit the notification bell. I'm going to put a couple links on the screen there. The bottom right is going to be the 2 Kings Bible study. Top left is going to be the 1 King Bible study. And then a bottom left is going to be a video YouTube things you're going to like. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm going to go ahead and see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.